people have been using that phone. I think the other issue that was quite interesting were a number of videos that the prosecution showed this morning. And so, frankly, one of the videos was a documentary from YouTube, and it showed Melly, and it showed him being very pensive. It showed Juvie. It definitely showed Sack Chaser. And I thought it was more endearing to the defense, but it was shown by the prosecution. At the very end of that video, it said that Juvie and Sack Chaser had been shot, and so it was sort of a memorial for the two of them. So interesting morning all in all.
Very interesting and very scary about Jamie King feeling threatened by Juvie's sister. Apparently with the social media stuff, emotions obviously running very high in this case. Let's get to some of your questions now. Keep them coming on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. We'll get to as many of them as we can. Our next question comes from Tammy Trigg from YouTube. And I feel like everybody could chime in on this one. Where did the two satchels disappear to? They were not found in the car, and Cortland did not have them, Linda. So you first on that topic.
Well, it's very interesting because that came up yesterday, I believe, during Trevion Glass's testimony. But if these satchels were so important, why didn't the police look for them? Now they're saying, well, the satchels that Melly had and that Cortland had were gone. And, maybe they were thrown away, maybe they were thrown in the water, maybe they were thrown in the garbage, but the police didn't look for them. So what are we going to do? If I'm a defense attorney and they're trying to argue that those satchels contained weapons, I'm going to say, because you didn't look for them, you get a negative inference. You can't tell this jury that evidence, because you didn't find evidence, means that evidence was there to be found, and therefore you have to vote guilty, jury. I think it's an outrageous claim by the prosecution if they're going to go there if they never looked for them.
Brian, the thing about the satchels that I find interesting was the fact that if things unfolded the way Bortland said they did, with them leaving the studio and then they're involved in the drive-by and he arrives at the hospital with Sack and Juvie, should Cortland's satchel have been in the car at the very least?
Maybe. I don't know where he went from point A when the shooting happened, whether it was someone in the car, outside the car, to point B in the hospital. And I think I'm going to echo what Linda said. Prosecutors, when they do voir dire, when they speak to their jury, they often say, I have the burden. It's my job. I will carry it. And they hold it as a badge of honor. But then to flip it and say, hey, we don't have this fact, but can you go down this rabbit hole with me to then assume some negative inference? As a viewer, yes, I'm going to assume this and I'm going to assume that, and I'm going to say, hey, maybe he should have had the bag on him. Maybe the bag has this. But if the prosecution wants to take a person's life, because we're not just talking about guilt or innocence here, we're talking about potentially the death penalty. You cannot, in my mind, ethically do what this might be, saying, we never investigated, we never checked, we don't know the answer, we're just going to give you this inference, and please take away this person's life. It should not be the way that prosecutors operate.
Our next question is from Derek from YouTube, Terry, and I'll throw it over to you. Before the trial started, one of the witnesses said Melly got into the red vehicle and then now changed all of a sudden. Isn't that weird as well?
Well, it's not weird, I don't think. I think you have to just look at what all of the witnesses together are saying as far as those vehicles are concerned. And regardless of what the witnesses are saying, you see the video. So the red Mitsubishi has the 4 other individuals who got in that car, including Trevion Glass, and the gray car, the Jeep that everyone else got into is where, Melly was, and Sack Chaser and Juvie and Bortland. So I think if you look at that video, we can certainly confirm that that's at least how that evening started. Brian brought up a great point, and it's something that I've been thinking about throughout the trial. We don't know what exactly happened after they got into that car. We know one destination subsequent to that was the hospital. We know another destination was Melly's house, where everyone apparently lived, and we know another destination was Frito Bang's house, but we don't know what happened in between exactly. So anything could have happened. I think we're going to have to rely on not just the witnesses, but put it all together and make sure that the video speaks too, so it's corroborating what others have said.
Courtney Weir from Facebook, Linda asks, so even if he used the phone, doesn't it mean it's his phone? And Fredo Bangs just made a song called Free Melly and specifically says he watched his dog go to trial over his cell phone. Do you think down the line